our first official meeting of 2022. Okay, as you know, we've got 6 candidates, and looks like most of them are here. So I'm going to now turn the time over to Anne Marie, our city recorder, to explain the procedure and how it will work.
Thank you, Mayor. I gave you all a copy of kind of what we're going to do tonight, but for those in our audience. So what we're going to do first is each candidate will give an opening statement. They'll have 3 minutes each to do so, and we've put them in order, a random order that follows the master ballot position list that is published by the Lieutenant Governor. So we'll have Quan Nijin first, Josh Sundbloff, Nate Jackson, David Moore, Andre Lortz, and then Rachel Lott. After which we're going to do questions and answers. The first round of questions, the mayor will ask the question to each candidate. You'll all have 2 minutes to respond. We'll do a few questions, and then we'll do one set of voting. And then after that, it will be narrowed down to 2 applicants. After this, and then at that point, we'll do the second round of questions. From there, we'll do another round of voting and go from there.
Okay, thank you. All right, so as we ask your question, will you come up to the podium and speak loudly? We're YouTubing this, right? Okay, so that everyone can hear. Okay. So the first question then, well, does anyone have questions first, just in general? About the procedure or anything? No? Okay.
Opening statement.
What?
I think the first thing was opening statement.
Thanks, John, yeah. Okay, so we'll invite you in order to present your opening statement. Quan? Thank you, John.
Mayor, City Council members, staff, and fellow applicants. My name is Quan Nguyen, and I'm a 6-year resident of Kaysville. I am living the American dream. After the Vietnam War and fall of Saigon, my dad decided he wanted to give his family a better life. We escaped by boat, eventually landed in a couple of refugee camps, and then were eventually sponsored by Catholic charities to eventually come to the United States. And I do vividly remember, I guess I was, 6, 7 years old, telling my mom, Mom, I promise that I'm gonna serve my community however I can, because these people are giving us a second chance. So growing up, I thought I was gonna be a Marine and a police officer. Marine, I achieved that. Police officer, not so much. I'm currently the chair of Kaysville's Planning Commission, as many of you know, and obviously I've worked with quite a few of you. I'm also the president of the PTA for Fairfield Junior High here in Kaysville, board of directors for Imagination Library Denver, which is a Dolly Parton Children's Literacy Initiative, and a few more nonprofits. So there's kind of a trend there. And that's based on my experience in combat and surviving everything and realizing that, you know what, you made it, you got all your fingers, whatever, you better get back to the community. And somebody once famous told me, hey, thanks for your service, now go back and serve your community. So here I am. I'm most proud of all these organizations, being on the board of Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, being a Marine combat veteran. I want to give back to my community, and our chapter's mission is vets helping vets. You replace that adjective with citizens helping citizens, it's the same thing. I'd intended to run the last election. Having said that, I didn't because I was nominated to the chair of the Planning Commission and wanted to put a lot of time and effort into the city's general plan. I'm more than happy to be involved in any area the council needs me to serve. So education, I think my PTA background will help. Obviously, liaison to the Planning Commission, I think that's a no-brainer. Chamber of Commerce, actually just hired Toby Barris as a data scientist to my company. And lesson.com, we're trying to bring several hundred jobs to Utah. Safety, working currently with Assistant Principal Wilson McConkey at Fairfield Junior High, and KPD Officer Wolf on the emergency procedures, taking that experience from my overseas experience helping out embassies. Power Commission, I think that's a huge thing for me, making sure that all citizens during emergencies have power. My greatest challenge, however, doesn't come from my combat experience or jumping out of airplanes. It's actually being a stepdad. 3 kids, and by the way, if you're listening, guys, get back to your homework. I simply couldn't do it without my amazing wife, Amy Kitzmiller. In closing, whoever you choose, you're in great hands. I've worked with many of them, Josh, Andre, so you're in good hands. Again, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Josh is next. Don't see him. Okay, so we'll move on to Nate Jackson.
I have the questions in front of me in case I forget. Well, it's a pleasure to be here and to stand before you, and congratulations on the new council. I think the city looks bright, and I'm excited to see what happens with this council. So Nate Jackson, I've been married for about 10 years, love my life. Lindsay, I have 2 wonderful children, Max, who's no longer with us, and my daughter Flora, you just heard her a minute ago. And I have lived in Kaysville for 6 years, or 5 years, almost 6 years. And I grew up in Bountiful. My wife and I, we bought our first home here, and we decided to move to Kaysville because it reminded us of what Bountiful used to be like. We wanted that hometown feel. And love the motto of Kaysville as well, Utah's hometown. And I want to preserve that. And I've worked for the Senate for the past 10 years. Here in Utah, I'm the Northern Utah Director for Senator Mike Lee currently. And my job consists of building rapport and relationships with mayors and commissioners, state and federal elected officials, all throughout the state, but particularly Northern Utah. And you know, when I first decided to run for this, first of all, when I ran, my phone blew up and people kept calling me, "Are you crazy? No one wants to run for council." And I absolutely disagree. I think this is where the rubber meets the road. And after serving for so long, representing federal interests, the federal government and state government directly affects what we do here in our local communities. And I've seen that firsthand. And when I decided to run for council, I ran as a citizen. I thought I would never do this, but I looked out and I saw some of the infrastructure, some of the bad sidewalks. I live up on 600 East, some of the power issues that we still have. And so it was really the basic needs of the city that got me really fired up and encouraged to run. And running this campaign, it was my first campaign. I didn't come out on top, but I feel like I was successful because 3-4 months prior, very few people knew who I was, and I had over 3,000 people support me. And I think going through the campaign process, it really is a refining, almost fire, so to speak, because I talked to thousands of people and I worked my guts out. And, we can put together good policy as a city, and I've found that really it's talking to the folks and figuring out how that policy functions and works. And I feel like I've learned a lot, and I'm eager to be a voice for those people that supported me and all the other residents of Kaysville. Serving on the committee, or the council, I want to be a team player. I've seen too many nasty stuff over the years in politics, and I'm all about working to get along, moving the ball forward, and it would be a pleasure to work alongside each and every one of you. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, David Moore.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. Congratulations to those of you who won. My name is David Moore. I was born and raised in Indiana, but I have lived in Kaysville since 2005 with my wife, partner Rain, and my son Cutler, who came along in 2006. I studied business management at the University of Phoenix and started with Rain, our own catering company, and after 9 successful years in business, we sold the company and I retired to spend time with my family. Now, most of you heard that introduction before, or a lot of you. as I ran for a city council seat in the last election. And I got to introduce myself several times during the campaign and even after the campaign a couple of times at events. I invested in myself, and I asked others to invest in me. And I ran because I wanted to get back to my community. I wanted to help repair what I perceived to be a disconnect between the city and its residents, and to make sure our infrastructure was where it needed to be now and for the future. What the truth is, and what I've learned since the beginning of the election cycle, even through today, is by attending and graduating from Kaysville University, talking with city department leaders, and learning really from anybody who I could talk to and who would talk to me, that it is so much more. And it takes a team, a good team, to accomplish the goals. My business and professional life, as seen in my resume that I turned in, has been all about teamwork. I've been fortunate enough to lead many of these teams and able to accomplish so many good resolutions. What I bring to this council as we work together as a team is that I'm an experienced problem solver, excellent communicator. I have good instincts. I work well under pressure, but more importantly, and I believe most importantly, I work really well with people of diverse backgrounds and opinions through understanding, empathy, and dialogue with each other. Now, I've been able to make some really good friendships throughout the election cycle. And if that's all that happens, that is more than enough. More than enough. But I've heard throughout the campaign, and even after, I've heard in multiple gatherings that Kaysville, we didn't have the capacity to build more homes or add more population. And though while some of that may be true, we have so much more building to do as a community. And strengthen the community growth, move forward, and develop a city that other cities would want to emulate. Not only for now, but for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Andre Lortz.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Andre Lortz. I have served on the City Council for the past 2 years. Prior to serving on the council, I served on a technical advisory committee for the city for over a year. In the recent election, I came in third place, which is why I'm standing here instead of sitting next to you. I have almost 30 years of business experience, and to see the results of some of my business efforts, all you have to look at is how Maverick has grown over the last 8 years. I'd like to continue to serve on council, as I feel there are many projects and processes that have been started in the recent past that I'd like to see move forward and continue to gain more traction. I would love to continue to work directly with the power department. Given the fiber infrastructure that will be deployed throughout the city for city use, the power department can make significant strides in modernizing and automating more of our power grid. We also have the opportunity with private fiber to the home that will facilitate better power management, including remote power distribution. It could, if we could simply reduce power peak usage through distributed power management, we could save our residents $1 million a year. I could spend my entire time just talking about the opportunities in this one area that could yield very material benefits to our community. However, it would be imprudent for me not to also touch on the fluency that I've developed for the city's budget and financial processes. I outlined several benefits the city realized from my business background and skills in the past 2 years in the letter that you received. I believe that my talents can continue to be of great value to the city in the next 2 years. While I have limited political ambitions, nor a desire to remain in public service for the long term, this window of opportunity matches well with my current life plans. My ability to partner with the rest of council, city staff, and outside parties has been one of the keys that has allowed us to accomplish as much as we did in the last 2 years. I know that nothing happens in isolation and that it takes a lot of effort from many people to move forward a local government enterprise. Beyond working with finance and the power department, I would also like to continue to partner with other departments in ways that they feel I can assist them. For example, the new ramp tax. The Parks Department will have a new challenge allocating additional funds in the most effective manner. This may include monetizing the future funds to accelerate projects in the near term. As a city, we have an opportunity to show true leadership and vision for the use of these RAMP funds, rather than just manage them on a year-to-year basis. Residents made very clear some priorities when it comes to Parks and Rec in the recent statistical survey. Finally, the past demonstrates both my commitment to and ability to manage both full-time employment as well as council obligations. I have been involved in much more than just council meetings and expect to continue that same involvement in the next 2 years. You have a difficult decision to make tonight, but I trust that you will use wisdom and good judgment and make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right, Rachel Lott.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rachel Lott. I'm an educator. I teach for BYU. I've lived in Kaysville for 20 years. We moved here fresh out of college, and I remember Kaysville before the 200 overpass, and any of the West Side businesses were there. So I remember stopping and waiting for the train, trying to get to the other side of town. Half of the time that we lived in Kaysville, I lived on the east side of Kaysville, and the other 9 years I've lived on the west side of Kaysville. So I'm familiar with some of the challenges and problems in both areas. My kids have attended Creekside, Snowhorse, Centennial, and both Davis and Farmington high schools. So I'm also very, very excited and concerned about education, and I see the differences in the different high schools. That's a big concern of mine. The reason I didn't run in the most recent election for me was mostly a matter of timing. Last summer, my daughter got married and I lost a parent to COVID. I just couldn't take on any more. But I've wanted to become civically involved for a long time, and I saw this as my opportunity to throw my hat in the ring. I'm so impressed by the other candidates here, and should you choose one of the others, I'd be happy to serve on a committee or any other role that I could be useful in. I'm not really applying with an agenda. I think that's one of my strengths. I come in really open-minded. In the past, maybe when I was a little bit younger, newer to Kaysville, I had some really strong opinions. But I've learned over time that we can't control the growth in Utah. Utah is going to grow. We can't stifle technology. Technology is needed. And we also can't, we need to look at utility expansion, new businesses. Those are things that we're going to need to embrace. I think the job of City Council is to figure out the difference between immediate needs and wants, and also to manage the changes and prioritize. And I feel like an open-minded person that comes in without an agenda maybe can help be flexible with that. The other strength I bring to the table is perhaps my ability to write and research. I'm a published author in academia, and I've done a lot of research and grant and proposal writing, and so that's a strength of mine that I'm happy to use in any capacity that it could serve. As far as my interests and where I would want to help, I'm pretty flexible. Education's a big push for me, and because I work with young adults and I work with youth in our church groups, I would love to maybe work with the youth council as well. And I also think it'd be fun to be on the planning commission. I've helped with sidewalks in West Kaysville, speeding traps, and other things like that. So I'd be happy to help with that. So thank you for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate your introductions. I know it can be nerve-wracking to do this. I've done this before, and I know what it feels like, so got tons of empathy for you. All right, so now we're going to move on to our round one of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to speak, so limit it to 2 minutes because we'll do our best to cut you off. That timer that you hear going off, that's your bell. The first we're going to start with, we were planning on starting with Josh, since he would be number 2 in line to start. I don't see him here, so we will move to Nate. So Nate, if you'll come on up, we'll give you your question. And everybody will answer the same question, just so you know. Okay, the question is, prioritize these potential capital improvements in order of importance to you.
Mayor, did you want to start with, that was number 2.
Oh,
Did you want to start with number 1?
yes, never mind. Well, actually, we'll do reverse order since I've already told you. Okay? So, prioritize these potential capital improvements in order of importance to you. A, new city recreation center. B, old library restoration. C, public works building remodel. And D, West Kaysville Fire Station.
Ooh. Well, I think that answered my question, possibly. You know, from what I've heard, I've had many conversations with the county commissioners and our neighbor cities. And, you know, we're forced to take on fire and emergency services as a city. And we need to have adequate coverage with our emergency services. I would love a rec center. The library is an ongoing issue, and in my opinion, the ball should have been moved forward a little more on that. And there's enough support in the community where I think that does take priority as far as moving forward. I don't know much about the renovation issue, and so I can't answer to that. I would say that we do have a pressing need to make sure that emergency services can get to every home in our community quickly. And, you know, of course, I would look into the data and the timing and everything, but it sounds like that's something we have to do whether we like it or not. And so I would say that takes precedent. I would say that the library, the old library, takes precedent after that, number 2. And, you know, I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done on a rec center. It costs a lot of money, and how are we going to raise money? I think it's a combination of raising money, of grant funding, and I think we really need to get a lot of input from the community to determine what type of rec center we want, because that's going to be a huge investment. And I'm absolutely supportive of looking at that and really kind of diving in. But ultimately, I want to make sure our basic services are really well covered as a city. Going back to what I said before, is that okay, I'm done, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, David, I'll repeat the question. Okay, the question is, please prioritize these potential capital improvements in order of importance to you. New City Recreation Center, old library restoration, public works building remodel, and new West Kaysville Fire Station.
All right. So I think in the 5-year plan, the West Side Fire Station is in that 5-year plan. I know that that's being worked on. I would actually put that as number 2 on my list, since it's already in the plan. Number 1 is taking care of the power plant. Obviously, I know a lot of things run through there. We need to be able to continue to support services in and around Kaysville. You know, power goes down, everything else that comes out of that power plant, I think we need to take care of that as a priority, because we already have the fire station, second on my list.
Okay.
The third on my list would be the rec center. I think it's something that we could look into, and hopefully if we could get some funds through grants or volunteer hours, that's something that should be considered. I know that's a big hot topic on social media, swimming pool / rec center. I think those people, I think the people behind that, we should work with those people and help them come to a solution as to whether it's something that can be done now or later. I was here for the library meeting. I didn't like what they did to Mike. They called him out. And I feel like Mike, and I've heard from other people, so is that my DA?
That's your time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, and I heard from other people that had been involved in seeing if we could save that building, that there were numbers that we just didn't have hands on about what we could do. I think it's fair that we now have a grant to see if it can be saved, so we can provide actual numbers. But that would be number 4 on my list.
Thank you.
I was really I was really disappointed in the city of Kaysville, the citizens, in that meeting. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next, Andre. I forgot, you guys have a copy of the questions in the agenda, don't you? Oh, you don't, okay. Okay. Okay, prioritize these potential capital improvements in order of importance to you. New City Rec Center, Old Library Restoration, Public Works Building Remodel, West Kaysville Fire Station.
So, as has been mentioned, I think, the West Kaysville Fire Station is already in the works of reviewing and considering locations and structures for that. So I think I would put that as my first priority, to continue that effort and to see that finished, especially once we have the paramedic services, we'll have the staffing to be able to have a substation that could actually have some people in it, rather than just a building. Second, I would put the Public Works Center. We have already begun the process to plan for what that could look like and what it needs to be. It's more than 25 years old and doesn't meet our current needs, let alone the future needs, and the staff that are there are severely limited in what they can do and how they can do it with old infrastructure. We've also put in place the process to be able to afford to do that with the rate changes that we made last year to ensure that we could fund building that Public Works building. I would next put the City Rec Center on my priority list, but wait for the Citizens Committee that was going to be formed for the ramp tax to be able to provide input about how we go about that and what features and functions would be included in it, given that there was a lot of strong support in the statistical survey for a rec center and including a pool, which was a surprise since a pool has been shot down several times in the city. And finally, the old library, and I think I put that last simply because it doesn't have an urgent need right now. And as we wait for the report to give us the details about the costs to renovate it versus replace it, I think we should wait until we have more information to be able to say we're going to devote more resources to that item. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel. Okay, the question again is prioritize these potential capital improvements in order of importance to you. New City Recreation Center, Old Library Restoration, Public Works Building Remodel, West Kaysville Fire Station.
Okay, so for me, I think the West Kaysville Fire Station should be the first priority. When they were building the Tyler Meadows estate, we communicated with the City Council to we kind of negotiated. I was so pleased at how Lorene Kamalu came out and attended one of our neighborhood meetings. We felt like they heard us, and they made meandering streets to help control traffic, and they punched through to Smith Lane. Our biggest concern was all of these different cul-de-sacs and not being able to get emergency services in to help us. And so it's a big deal for me to be able to have access to emergency services, especially in West Kaysville, where we have a whole bunch of little circles. It makes it hard to get to. My second priority would probably be the Public Works building. My father's an engineer for Rocky Mountain Power, and he has told me for a long, long time, you sweet Kaysville people, it's a matter of time. You're growing so fast, and your facilities are eventually going to need expansion. He says we've done a great job. He's thrilled about it, but he's like, tick, 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 tick. And so that would be my second priority. Third, this may sound strange, but the library restoration project for me would be third. I think we need to really prioritize our history and our uniqueness. It's part of what makes this cute small town of Kaysville cute and unique. That and Main Street, I think those should be prioritized. If not, they will continue to be pushed off down the road, pushed further and further and further. And fourth would be the recreation center. I was frankly really super disappointed when they renovated Davis High School years ago that we didn't make a smart school and put a swimming pool in there, just like up at Centerville with a recreation center built right into the school. It seemed like that would have been a great idea at the time. So although I think it would be nice, we have brand new gyms, lots of people with their own swimming pools. I see it as lesser of a priority.
Thank you very much. All right, and Kwan. Okay, the question again, do you need it?
I don't.
Okay.
So new capital, I would put in order, number one, the West Kaysville Fire Substation.
Okay.
Number 2, Public Works Building. Number 3, Rec Center. Number 4, Library. Let me explain why. Kaysville needs a substation on the west side. I think that with last year or the year before, the bench fire proved why we need it. Obviously, if it's on the other opposite side, and also with the West David corridor coming through, if we don't have a substation there and the fire department needs to go from here to there, and if there's any blockage on any of the main roads, you're talking about delay in services and helping people out. So I think that's a key priority. And also not just looking at that, but looking further down the road as West Kaysville grows or doesn't, depending on the citizens. So that's number 1. Number 2 is definitely the Public Works Building. From my looking at the notes right now, it doesn't support the infrastructure. We've got trucks, equipment everywhere, so that's definitely needed. I would say number 3 is the rec center, although I could switch that out with number 2. I believe that the rec center will create local jobs for our kids. It will keep our kids here. Right now, we have to go down to Bountiful or Blayton. Come on, we deserve more than that. And again, people, our citizens have said it, they're willing to pay extra for a pool. So let's go there. Last but not least is the old library. I come from a different generation. I grew up with a library down the road, so I love going to the library. Having said that, we have a nice new library, but yes, we do need to keep old Kaysville, especially for the folks that have been here for quite some time, keep our history, and that's why I think that should be the last. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate all of those answers. All right, we'll go to the number 1 question that I skipped. And we will start with, let's see, David. Okay, thank you. Your question is, what unique skills and expertise will you bring to the council?
The unique feel is that I think that I bring another diverse, I bring myself to the council is what I should say. It's unique. I know that a lot of times the people in the city are looking for one thing, one particular, we need to go down one road. I'm looking for that type of person. We forget that there's all kinds of other diverse people out there. And in my professional life, I've been really good at listening to those different perspectives and bringing that to, bring that to the council. We would be able to actually include everyone while we're making our decisions. And that's what's unique about me. Another unique thing is that I can get along with anybody. I love people. There's that. I make good decisions. I work well with others. And given the opportunity, I think I'd shine in this team atmosphere of the City Council. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Andre.
I think the unique skills and talents that I bring to continue to serve on City Council would be one, I'm already experienced in understanding what's happening in the city. With the past 2 years, I know all the issues that are right now on the docket, what's coming up and where things are at. So I can hit the ground running immediately. I think that's the one unique thing I have. Similar to what David said, I think that I've also shown the ability to find ways to compromise or get a solution to a problem when we have diverse opinions and views, and be able to help bring a way for us to find a solution when it doesn't seem that there is a unanimity in decisions. But yet, I think over the last 2 years, we saw that there was quite a bit of unanimity even after disagreement within the council, which I thought was a great thing that we were able to do, and I feel that I was a part of that. I also think that my unique skills are that I know governmental accounting, so I understand how the finances work within the city. I can analyze the budget, I can review the results, and come up with solutions two things. As you've seen in the past 2 years, and as I put into my letter to you, I was able to find ways to manage through challenges with funding the fire department, expansion of staffing early, be able to reduce the property tax increase this last year while still bringing in the paramedic service and not having it short-staffed or short-funded. So I think those are the unique skills that I bring to be able to serve on council and be able to help the city move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Rachel.
Okay, well, I feel a bit underqualified, having seen so many people on awesome committees and having a lot of experience, which I admire. I think that's so awesome. Probably the unique skills that I can bring to the table are my research and writing abilities to help with grant writing. I've done a lot of document design and online things, so I'd be able to help in that perspective as well. Maybe the longevity that I've been here in Kaysville for a long, long time. I've seen a lot of changes, and the more I learn about people and the issues, the more I can respect the different perspectives. I get it. I've lived on both sides of the tracks, and I really understand where they're coming from. And so I think my ability to compromise, hear people out, be level-headed, respectful, I think is important as well. I also have a lot of time on my hands. My nest is emptying quickly, and I'm looking for my next thing to keep me engaged and excited. And education is so important to me, and I would love to be able to help prioritize that. We're lucky and blessed to have awesome schools. That's the reason my husband and I moved here in the first place, was to raise our children in Kaysville, where they had awesome test scores. And to be able to pilot the new Summit program, I also think is a huge compliment to our community, that we can be flexible, malleable. And so I see that as a huge compliment to the citizens here. I also know how passionate the parents can be. I've been on PTA committees when we were at Creekside, and I know I need to finish quickly. Our principal actually had to put a restraining order on somebody when I was in the community council because of threats that they made towards the school. So I've dealt with some really difficult situations, and I know how passionate people could be. And in general, they're well-intended. So I try to remind myself of that they're passionate because they love Kaysville. So.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, Kwan.
Rachel, I don't think you're underqualified. I think you're qualified. That's the whole meaning, I think, of the city council, is that you don't take professional politicians, you take people from the community. What makes me so qualified? Good question. I think I look at my journey from running, actually, 2 years ago when we had a similar situation here, and eventually volunteering for the Planning Commission. And I think former council member Barber said it best, when we first got onto the Planning Commission, wasn't really sure what how things ran, but I think I finally picked it up. One of the things I learned there was you can't be flippant about people's complaints. And we hear the complaints over and over again, but you have to think about why people are bringing things up, which is, hey, it's legitimate. What you think may not be important to you is important to that person that's taken the time out to go in front of the commission, be on public record, and say what they need to say. So I think that's the one thing that I bring to the table. The other thing, too, is transparency. That's one of the things that I've brought as chair of the Planning Commission, is I've tried to make things as transparent as possible by having videos explaining why and how we make our decisions. Councilmember Hunt has been doing them, and I think the results speak for themselves. But I think being empathetic, I think that's important, because that's where what we're here to do is we're here to serve the citizens of Kaysville, not in a self-serving way. So I think those are important qualifications that I bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Nate.
It's actually kind of nice going last.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I bring to the council, above all, I bring a desire to work with others, to build consensus, to build rapport. I think we can do a good job talking to our neighbor cities, figuring out what they do right, and seeing if there's opportunities to partner a little bit. My relationships, I have years of relationships all throughout the state in northern Utah. And, you know, I know how government officials work. I've been to hundreds of meetings throughout the years, and I know how to talk to them. I know how to build rapport with folks that absolutely disagree with me or my boss, and I love a challenge. I love to build consensus. I'm a team player, absolutely. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I'm honest to the T. Sometimes I'm almost too honest for my own good. I am an institutionalist, ultimately. You know, I said earlier, yeah, I work for Senator Lee. I work for Senator Hatch. I've worked in politics a long time. But ultimately, I'm all about the institution and the council. And if we have a good functioning council and institution, everyone benefits. And I feel like we bring too many unnecessary things into the council and politics that don't need to be there. And I want to focus on just moving the ball forward and listening to every single person in our community. And, you know, I'm going to hit the ground running. Earlier, I don't know why, I heard you say public, I didn't say works building. And so I was a little frustrated with myself because power is very important to me. There's a group in Kaysville, they still run out of power a couple times a year, and they all have generators. And to me, that's unacceptable. I want to really get in there and fix that. But the reason why I'd say I'd hit the ground running is because I'm used to having very complicated legislation dropped on my lap like that. And I'm used to having people come to me that want help with complicated grants. And so I have to get up to speed quickly. But thank you. That's my answer.
Thank you very much. All right, the last question for this round will go first to Andre. And our question is, what do you think the ramp tax should be used for?
As a citizen or a candidate? Those may be two different answers.
You get to choose.
I really think that what we need to do is probably, well, as I said in my opening statement, I think we have a unique opportunity now to look to do something very important with the city. We can just do a year-to-year, hey, we're going to get so many $100,000 and let's just kind of do little projects here and there. But I think we can actually do something very transformative within Kaysville with that. And I think that if we help our Citizens Committee see the vision beyond just what's next year, then I think something great can happen with it. I'd love to see a rec center in Kaysville. I think it's a big miss. Obviously, our residents think it's a big miss. They're willing to pay more taxes for one. And so I think we ought to put a plan together to show them that we're moving that direction and use some of the ramp funds for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Rachel.
I think that's an excellent question. There's so much we can do, right? I would love to see Main Street highlighted to keep the authenticity of Old Kaysville. I also have seen talk and the feedback that you got from the general plan about maybe the on and off ramps, beautifying that. I don't think we need to spend a lot of money. Pretty rocks and a cute little pattern is great, but something to clean that up a little bit because that is where our sign is and where people enter our city. There's a pole laying out there that's been out there for how long, just laying sideways on the ground, big round pole that's been there for months. I kind of don't understand why it's there. Seems like a pretty simple thing to kind of clean up. So I'd like to see some of it spent that way. As far as arts, we have awesome programs with arts in the park and lots of fun things for people to participate in. I love our parks. We've got some new ones out in West Kaysville that are gorgeous. I'd love to see the finished, the projects that were laid out in the plan with more of the different things. I think they were baseball fields that were supposed to be put in. So I think just finish what we started and keep it clean and polish up a little bit. so we can accent the beauty we already have.
Thank you very much. All right, Kwan.
Ramp tax. So I had to remind myself, recreation, arts, museum, and parks. I think our Kaysville citizens have told us in the last survey what they want to do, which is recreation, parks, whether it's a pool, et cetera. So I think that's where we should use it in a new rec center. But we have to be pragmatic. You can't think like, oh, this is, money on tree, because what is it really? It's a penny for every dollar spent in Kaysville except for groceries, gas. So a family that spends about $1,000 a month would only pay $1 in the ramp tax. So we have to think about that. But in my opinion, yes, definitely anything recreation related, arts, because I've always heard that Kaysville is this bedroom community, and what makes it a bedroom community? Recreation, parks, definitely, museum. You want people to stay here and spend money here, because that's what it says. The ramp tax has to be spent in Kaysville. It's not to be spent on our neighbors, whether we like them or not. So I think that's the important thing. And like I said, folks are willing to spend extra. That was surprising to me when they said they were willing to pay, I can't remember what the number was, for a pool in property taxes. That blew my mind, but I love it. It's great. Creates jobs for our kids. So let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Nate.
When I first started campaigning, someone asked me about the ramp tax, and I said, I don't know anything about that, and they explained it. And immediately I was put off when they said tax. I said, we can't do that to our local businesses. But after learning about it and studying it through the campaign, I actually decided I supported it. And what I would do with that, personally, the ravine in Fruit Heights, is anyone's ever hiked that? It's fantastic. They have all these trails that go through there that you can hike. And we have this beautiful ravine in East Kaysville near my home. And I think if it was me personally, I would love to see if there's a way to talk to the property owners to see if there's a way to build more recreation to encourage people to get out and exercise. We have a lot of elderly people in my neighborhood, and I think it would be great if we can get more people out there. But ultimately, I'm running to represent Kaysville and the citizens of Kaysville. I love the idea of promoting arts and a rec center. I think, we all work hard, we all have our families, but we all want to recreate in our own community. And so I think that's really important to bring a community together. And so I'm very supportive of that. But I'm very pragmatic as well, and it's not a lot of money, and it would be very challenging, I believe, to just say, yes, let's do a rec center, let's plug it to that. My biggest concern about RAMP is I just want to make sure that the money is fluid when it's collected, so that we can really use it and decide as a council and as a community where to put that money. What I don't want to see is money get tied up in different pots that sits there for years and years that doesn't really benefit the community. And so that's a few of my thoughts on the RAMP tax.
All right, thank you very much. Right, David? Thank you. Thank you.
Is my time over already?
You're done.
So, I went to school to be a music teacher before I changed directions. I'm a huge arts guy. Music, the actual arts, theater. I would love to see the city use part of the ramp tax in order to enhance an arts education for the citizens of Kaysville, the kind they're missing as it's being taken out of our public schools. Drama teaching, learning to play instruments. I think we could set an indelible mark with the kids in this community as they grow up and give them all kinds of opportunities. I'm also, believe it or not, I believe our parks need to start using that money right away to keep up with the decay and the wear and the tear, and to keep these parks, I want to say up to code, but, that's just throwing that out there so people can go and enjoy them. And if we can beautify them, it's great. But again, I'm so happy it passed, because now we have a great opportunity in front of us to do so many things. And you know what, that's it. That's what I think about the rent tax, so thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, that completes the 3 questions for this.
Yeah, Mayor, Mr. Sundloff, I believe, showed up. I don't know if he wants to take the opportunity to answer this question.
Sure, come on down. Would you like to? We're on question 3. And this question is, what do you think the ramp tax should be used for?
Well, let me first say I'm not sure that it matters. I thought it was at 7. I'm obviously late. Repeat the question.
What do you think the ramp tax should be used for?
Well, I'm a little unorganized in my thoughts, obviously. So ramp tax, I guess let me back up and say what I think a principle that I would apply to the question would be. I do think creating community is an important endeavor for the council to try to foster. I think Kaysville, in some respects, has community in spades, but I also think that, Kaysville suffers from many of the common maladies of our nation or of our day, in the sense that we don't know each other as good as we should. We don't sort of have that hometown gym on a Friday night feeling all the time. Sometimes we do when we're seeing each other at Davis games or what have you. So I think a broad principle I would apply is applying those funds to events that create community more than we already have. I think fostering arts, I think the fact that we have LeConte Stewart here in Kaysville should be a feather in our cap more than it is. And I think maybe some of those funds can go to fostering art programs or something of that nature. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any specifics that come to my mind as I come in the room, and I'm late here, obviously. But the principle I would apply is trying to get citizens together where we can find common ground beyond maybe some of our disagreements, where we can know each other as neighbors, as friends, as Kaysville citizens, and join together in community events around the arts is how I would answer that question.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, Anne Marie, do you want to explain what happens next?
Sure. So I gave you all a ballot. It says round 1 ballot on it. So you can vote for up to 2 candidates on it. And then you can just fold them and pass them down to me. Nick or Shane will come over and help me count them. And then those who get the top 2 votes, the highest votes, will move on to the next round. If there's a tie, we'll address that at that point.
We can do that. That way.
Yeah. Do you know if there was a meeting invite that was sent to this guy? Because
Because you know, Nate called me the other day. He thought it was tomorrow. He did think it was tomorrow. Until he talked to me today.
Yeah, because
I don't know.
Tammy says there was an email sent out.
What did I say?
He talked to Nate today about this.
I just wanted to.
He thought it was tomorrow.
It was published on the website. I know we email people. 2 emails.
2 emails.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I know.
So I just want to make sure.
I'm with you. I know.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, as they're tallying up the votes, we invite people that don't make it through this round to stay if you'd like to. You're welcome to leave if you don't want to stay. But after we do this, after she makes an announcement, I'll turn some time over to council members to just briefly comment if they want to, or thank you for coming, or whatever they want to say. And then we'll move on to round 2. What? No, I was not. You were the only one looking at me, so. So I was just making eye contact. I was looking for a friendly face in the audience. I'll talk with my eyes closed.
Okay, the 2 top ones were Andre Lortz and Nate Jackson.
Okay, thank you. So Andre and Nate will move on to round 2. First,
Don't leave yet.
first of
Let's
all,
see.
I'll turn some time over to whoever wants to speak. Councilmember Adams.
Yeah, I just, thank you so much for staying, David, and if I can take just a second to tell all of you that I look over all of you and I think I would work for you. I mean, this is the most impressive group of people in Kaysville, and I'm so happy that you're here. I wrote some things down while you were speaking. Quan, unbelievable, a Marine. I didn't know that. I mean, aside from when I saw it on your paper, but when you said it, I start to get kind of teary because my cousin's a Marine, and I know the sacrifices you've made and the services you've given. And not only to that, but the Planning Commission. I enjoy your comments so much. Lastly, being a stepdad, you're a hero in that, in my eyes. I have 3 of my own, and I would leave them if I could. So the fact that you've inherited 3 and that you love them is huge. Nate, it was so awesome to hear of your experiences as well. The brave enough to run. I have the utmost respect for you. I'm sure your wife would agree in this, but you just exude goodness. When you walk into a room, there's a light that follows you, and that's something to be noted for sure. David, what a guy. You wear your heart on your sleeve. I can tell that. And I love that. And similar to Quan, you're a hero in my eyes and as an adoptive parent. I respect you so much for that. And you earned a lot more respect for me when you attended Kaysville University, which shows that you really cared. You didn't just run and leave. And so I hope you stick around. I hope to see you around. Andre, you know that this job entails, and I don't know why you're doing it again, or trying to do it again. You have my respect for doing that, and something that I have learned about you over the last 2 years is that if you do anything, you do it full force, not half-assed. Rachel, what a delight to meet you, and the most underpaid and most deserving people are educators. And I chose you last so I could stand and clap and thank you for being an educator. Anyway, thank you so much. This was a very difficult decision because all of you are so qualified.
Does anyone else?
I wouldn't mind
Okay, go
saying.
ahead. Councilmember Blackham.
You know, there are the core facilities that as a council you provide for the citizens of Kaysville.
But the neat part that you get to see is community. And to have you people come here and put yourselves out there because you want to be a part of the community says so much. And it's, I'm overwhelmed at people's willingness to want to come up and put themselves out there and put themselves in front of the citizens. It's not always pleasant, but it can be very rewarding. And the fact that have you got up here and said, even if I don't get this, what can I do? You know, that says a lot to me. And it just says a lot about our community. It says about a lot about Kaysville. And that's why I'm here, is because I have a terrible passion for Kaysville. And I can see, so do you. And I applaud you for being here, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else?
I just pressed the button and it works.
It did.
Wow.
That's great.
Hey, you know, when you're a newbie, you're doing, hey, Rachel, thank you. You say you said you felt overwhelmed on the qualification. Let me tell you, you had some wonderful answers. And it must be that wonderful education you got down south. So, but I really appreciate being able to hear people. You know, David said during the campaign with the friendships that he gained, and I agree. I didn't know really any of the people. I knew Nate before through work, but I didn't know anybody, and I really felt at a disadvantage over the last little, because there were 3 of the folks that signed up that I didn't know, but I hope to get to know. And I will carry those friendships from the campaign onward as we work with the citizens of Kaysville. I appreciate your willingness to be here, to throw your hat in the ring, and to, you know, when you're standing, you know, 1 out of 6, it's an 18% chance, you know, and you all knew that and still came. And, you know, if I have an 18% chance, I mean, that's, shoot, I'm not even in single A ball in baseball then. But I appreciate it and look forward to working with you, and thank you for all you have to offer this wonderful city.
Thank you.
If I say something, Tim?
Absolutely.
Sorry. I think I would be remiss if I didn't just say thank you for coming out. It's kind of already been said, but I've gotten to know a lot of you really well, and I think everyone was completely qualified for this. I don't think any of you are not going to be moving forward because you weren't qualified at all. And I have a great respect, you know, like Councilmember Oaks said, that you came out here. I mean, this was another thing to do. Some of you after 3-6 months of campaigning and then coming out and putting yourself out again. I mean, that takes some pretty serious guts. And I would just say, you know, I noticed that there's a Parks and Rec Advisory Board open position. There are more boards coming, and I hope to see all of you there.
Thank you, Abby. I'll just echo what everyone said. Don't we have a great council? It's great to be able to be part of this group of people because they're wonderful, and I really appreciate all of you. I've been where you're sitting. I've done this, and it was very intimidating and very scary. So I would encourage you to continue to reach out. There'll be lots of opportunities to be involved, and we would love to see you at City Hall. So please let us know how you want to help moving forward, because that's what we're bringing to the table here as opportunities to serve. So thank you. You're welcome to stay. We hope that you do, but we understand if you need to leave. So, okay. At this point in time, we will go on to our next round of questions that will go to Nate and Andre. I believe that I asked Andre the first question most recently. Is that true? Yes. So we'll start with Nate. Okay. Nate, give us a recent example of how you resolve conflict with other people.
That's a good question. First of all, thank you so much to make it through that round. I feel very humbled and privileged, so thank you. A recent story of resolving conflict. I feel like I almost do that on a daily basis.
I bet.
I'm trying to think of a good story here. You know, every day I have people come to me that disagree with me or my boss or whatnot. And oftentimes people will misjudge and mislabel me because of who I work for, what I've done. And, you know, ultimately my goal, I always give everyone the benefit of the doubt. And I think everyone has innate value to this world, and they have something to offer. And I always try to seek common understanding and a way forward. You know, I've had a moment recently, a while ago, I had a group of probably 30, 35 angry people come into a room, and I was tasked with the job of meeting before them, and they were very angry and did not want to hear anything I had to say. And, you know, by the end of that meeting, we built rapport and we built common understanding. And it wasn't easy to do, but I always view those situations as a wonderful challenge, because in our world, we have so many negative people and viewpoints in regards to politics. And I think we can deal with a little more love and understanding. And so my whole goal every day when I go to work, and what I would apply to the council, and each and every one of you as my colleagues, I would give you the utmost respect and have healthy debates. And I'm not afraid to talk to constituents who are angry. And so that's my time.
Okay, thank you.
A recent example of how I dealt with conflict. Well, as Nate said, I think, you know, that's part of my job daily, is to deal with conflict within a business and to resolve disputes between people or between departments. But I think the principle that I would apply first, before I give you the example, is one of my favorite quotes that I use all the time. I know that you thought you understood what I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard is not what I meant. And so I try to always remind myself that whenever I hear something that makes me go, what? I may not have heard it right, or they may not have said it in the way that I thought they did. And so it always reminds me to seek for more understanding and clarify it. And I know that the current council, if you think back, we've had a couple times where there's been misunderstandings. I try to approach it unemotionally, logically. Let's get to the facts. Let's find out what we're really talking about. What does it really mean? So that hopefully we can resolve that conflict and dispute, and we can move forward together rather than against each other. At work recently, I had somebody who was not doing their job very well. And we had to have a hard conversation about expectations and what they needed to do. And being able to sit down with them and make sure I understood what they thought they were supposed to be doing and what I thought they should be doing opened up some doors of misunderstanding. And through that, we were able to resolve the difference in expectations. And now they're doing a great job, because now their understanding of the expectation is much better than it was before. They had twisted and thought, well, I thought you wanted me to do this. And it's like, well, no, we want this accomplished. You don't have to do it that way. And just resolving that discrepancy takes the conflict away. And I think that's the key. Anytime there's a conflict, there's a misunderstanding. And if you can take out the misunderstanding, you can resolve the conflict.
Thank you very much. All right, the next question actually will go to you, Andre. You'll get to answer it and be the first. Actually, that was the only planned question. What we're doing now is presenting an opportunity for council members. Do any of you have a question that you would like to ask?
No, you can't get a free drink at Maverick.
If you just walk out.
Oh, I saw his eye.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'd forgotten that we asked that question. Okay, I have a question then. I'll just ask. As you know, growth is a big deal. Planning growth, preparing for growth, affordable housing, attainable housing, whatever we want to call it, more diverse, dense housing. How do you feel about it in Kaysville? And do you think it's appropriate?
How do I feel about growth overall or attainable, affordable housing?
Yeah,
Yeah, those are all kind of intermixed, and
Yeah.
it's a very complicated
it wasn't a very
situation.
specific question.
I think within Kaysville, as we've been working on the general plan update, it's been a great opportunity to kind of rethink where do we want to do what. And I know that I submitted back a lot of questions on the plan because I thought there was some things that were not said or things that were said differently than what I thought made sense. And so I think that there's a lot of discussion that still needs to happen about where and how growth happens in Kaysville. I like the idea of mixed use, obviously voting for that new ordinance, and I believe that we have opportunity to redevelop and get some mixed use, which should provide some attainable housing within the city. But I also think that we have to be very pragmatic about where we can do multifamily. Obviously, anywhere we try to do it, everybody opposes it. And so I think the further out we can signal where it is going to be placed, the better it's going to work in the community. So if we can signal in that general plan, where is multifamily going to be acceptable to the council, for the city, I think the easier it will be for the community to start adopting that.
Okay, thank you, Andre.
Would you like me to answer the same question?
Yes, please.
Okay. This is a very good question, probably one of the most important questions in my mind. We have, as Perry knows, thousands of jobs coming to Hill Air Force Base, and they're coming, whether we like it or not. The biggest defense project in the nation is taking place here at the headquarters. And, you know, I've seen this happen in other cities and places. We will all grow regardless. And so without strong leadership, I'm afraid we may grow the wrong way. I am absolutely supportive of having different types of housing for newlyweds, first-time homes, elderly folks. It would be a travesty to have any one of my neighbors. I have a lot of neighbors that are elderly. Some of them can't walk up and down stairs anymore. It would be a travesty to me if they had to move outside of Kaysville where they've lived their entire life. And so I am very supportive of different type of housing. Now, with that being said, I do not want to lose our hometown, and I'm very serious about that. I don't think we need to be everything to everyone. And when I say that, I can't imagine putting 7, 8-story apartment buildings, especially next to some of these historic homes. That would break my heart, really. But I do think mixed-use housing is very appropriate, and I also think we need to kind of spread it out a little bit. I know a lot of people are against housing in their community, but it comes down to communication, and you know, if their own children were looking for homes, I think it would actually make a difference in helping them see a different perspective. I don't think as a council we should railroad any of that through. I think we should get input from the community, but I also think we need to use common sense, and if we don't plan ahead, we will grow regardless. And so I want to see just really good and smart growth and attractive growth. I love the idea of beautifying Main Street and having mixed businesses and homes and things like that. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Didn't mean to catch you guys off guard with that. Does anyone have anything else to ask? Nope. Okay, all right, thank you very much, candidates. Anne Marie.
Okay. So this final round 2, you have all their names there because we didn't know who the last 2 would be, but you can only vote for one. Just the same thing, hold it up, and pick it up, and count it.
Nick, you the collector?
I've lost sleep over this. Okay, the top vote was Nate Jackson.
Okay. All right, Nate, congratulations. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you, Andre. You're a good man. And I really appreciate you. So thank you both. Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. We will now close our meeting, right? Oh, that's right. We have a resolution. Thank you. Forgot. Who's got it?
So I'll present this. So
Okay.
this resolution would just officially and formally appoint Nate to be the member of the city council. It's written in such a way that the person is blank, so as you make your motion, if you would just say, I move to approve or deny, whatever, but approve the nomination of Nate Jackson and approve the resolution.
Okay, so that's what I need to say, or do you have it written down for me to read?
The resolution's written and it's in the packet, I believe,
Oh, I don't have a copy of it. I need to bring in iPads.
but we just need a motion from the council in a second.
And it can be any of us? Okay.
It doesn't need to be verbatim.
Okay, does someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Nate Jackson to fill the vacancy of Tammy Tran for the remainder of her term as council member.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Blackham has made a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilmember Hunt has seconded. Do we do questions or comments? Do we have any comments? Nope. Okay, then we'll go to a vote. Councilmember Oaks.
Aye.
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 Okay, vote was unanimous. Thank you very much, council. Thank you very much, candidates. We
Thank
appreciate
you
your hard work.
To all of you.
Thank you
very
so much. Do we need a motion to adjourn? Okay. Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.